Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pageant Project. My next guest is Sophia Sargent, sometimes known simply as Sophie, which I've asked her about. So either one is fine. Is a dynamic media personality and model who currently holds the title of Miss New Hampshire Volunteer 2026. She serves as an ambassador for volunteerism across the state and frequently shares her journey on social media platforms, including Instagram, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, X, and LinkedIn. No Facebook there, that's the only one. Sophia's creative footprint extends into digital content and media. Her work has been featured in Bold Journey magazine, and she has contributed to wellness-focused projects such as Biohack Yourself Media. She also has professional experience in modeling, signed with Tandem Models and NEMG, and has worked as an on-camera host for outlets such as NESN's Dirty Water TV, red carpet interviews, TV commercials, and entertainment segments. I think everyone's jealous already. Beyond her media presence, Sophia is actively involved in community causes. She is partnering with the Miss Volunteer America team to support the St. Jude Walk / Run in Boston, helping raise awareness and funds for childhood cancer treatment in partnership with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Well, Sophie, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I would love to just start with that.
It's a pleasure having you on. I sometimes, when I read out those bios that you guys have, I go like, wow, everyone's going to be intimidated by this. I think you're the first bio I've read it and go, everyone's going to be super jealous of you and everyone's going to hate you. What is it that you do? Like, and how did you get to do all these amazing things?
So I kind of call myself a media personality for a reason, mainly because I kind of cover all the landscapes. I've done radio. I currently work on a country music afternoon show in Manchester, New Hampshire. I also work in the Boston market on NESN, like you were saying, or also known as NESN. And most people actually know NESN as the channel where the Red Sox play, if you're from New England. And I do social media. I document all of it because, you know, growing up in New Hampshire, it's not really common to pursue TV and pursue these big jobs. And even I would argue the pageant world, you're putting yourself out there in such a unique way. So to be able to share that and show other people, especially young girls, and kind of be that role model that I wanted when I was younger is an incredible opportunity, and I don't want to waste it. And modeling was my segue into the world, really. I didn't know where to start, so I signed with an agency towards the end of my high school career. And when I got to college, I just sort of networked my way into TV, and it was clearly meant to happen because everything kind of fell into place. And at the time I was majoring in something that it wasn't even aligned with broadcasting. I was in Homeland Security. So it was way off the path um, of my journey. But it clearly was meant to work out the way that it has.
Okay, back up for a second. What? What happened? Okay, you need to walk people through your story because I've been stalking your Instagram, your social media. I've seen the bits that you've done where, as I said to you, like you're getting these amazing looking cocktails, amazing looking dishes. You're talking to these people, but you started off in like studying homeland. Like what happened exactly?
I think I didn't really have the confidence in myself to pursue on camera work like modeling and acting and reporting, all of the things that I do now, because I didn't know how. And I was so young. Like I kind of knew the path was to go to college, and college is fantastic. And I'm so glad I went to college. And my interest at the time, other than being on camera, was working for the government. I wanted to do analytical work and work for the FBI and work on cases. It was just something I loved. And I spent way too much time watching Criminal Minds. So naturally, I thought that was what it was going to be like. So I did some internships throughout my college career. COVID did put a little bit of a hindrance in that just because of everything being locked down. But you know, for having a remote college experience for the most part, I tried to make the most of it. And with that, I quickly realized that it just wasn't going to be my forever job. It wasn't what I loved.
Oh, talk to me about Criminal Minds just for a sec, because I have this thing. I don't know any other TV show that has caused so many pageant girls to go into like forensic psychology and things like this. And you all seem to be fascinated with the psychology of serial killers, which I find slightly disturbing. What is it about Criminal Minds that you guys find so fascinating?
you fall in love with the characters. I mean, I love Dr. Spencer Reed and all of the awesome girl agents. Like, it made me feel powerful to see those
Yeah.
characters, even though you kind of know that it wasn't real. I think we all glamorize it, and it's so interesting to like get to the bottom of a case. So for me, that's really what intrigued me to everything until I realized what you have to deal with. The blood and the forensic
Yes.
work is a little crazy. So that was where I said, okay, maybe not for me.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Let me start by asking you this. With this sort of bio that you have here, and there are so many different parts, what has your day to day been like?
Day to day looks so different. Shocker, I know. But it that I built my schedule that way. I am sort of a freelancer, which is great because it really allows me to take advantage of every opportunity I have as Miss New Hampshire Volunteer.
Hmm.
And so I guess to answer your question, I'll wake up every day and I'll go and do my 2 radio shows. I work for 2 country stations, and that's usually first thing in the morning for me because it's like the constant of the day. So I'll do that, go into the studio and record those, do my show prep and kind of move on with my day. Some days I'm going to a commercial shoot. Right now I have a contract with a local automotive company, and I'm their spokesperson for the year. So there are some days where I'm on set filming for that or other projects. And some days I'm working on New England Sports Network, whether that's Dirty Water TV, going around New England and covering all of the incredible events, restaurants that we have here in the area, whether that's in the Granite State or Boston, the Cape as well. And Meet Boston is the other show I do. That is sometimes in my schedule as well. And that is another lifestyle show. It's a little different because we produce it all ourselves, which is really incredible. NESN kind of says, hey, we'll give you the contacts, but go and run with it. Do your interviews, when you can, film when you can, and you can edit it. You have full control of it. It's a really awesome opportunity. But another constant I have in my day, I love Pilates. I love to go to the gym. I'm going to have a nice latte or two. That's what keeps me going. But yeah, just really also taking every moment to plan for the next year and get ready to be on stage in Jackson in June. I mean, it seems like it's far away, but it's really not. We're already thinking about gowns, we're thinking about headshots, talent, and everything that is just going to go into that. And I don't want to regret or lose any time through my year. I was crowned early on, so just really taking advantage of every moment is important to me.
Is your core activated right now?
My core?
I saw your Instagram story where you were saying your Pilates teacher was yelling at you for. I do my research, Sophie.
I mean, I'm so glad. So my core is a little activated because of my posture. I was so thrown off by that today. I couldn't even believe it. But I mean, hey, it's good. The teacher's paying attention.
I've never been to a Pilates class. I've been to a lot of yoga classes. I never quite made it to Pilates. I thought those is it the reformer things? I kind of think they look like torture with the springs and you're being stretched everywhere. But you find this relaxing?
1,000%. Because I mean, maybe that plays with the criminal minds in some way. I don't know, in the psychotic behavior that maybe us girls have. But no, I think it's a great way to stretch. It's a unique way to also just activate those small muscles that you don't just by lifting generic weights. And one thing about me is I'll try a bit of everything when it comes to health and wellness and workouts. So for me to say no to the torture device looking thing would be odd because I like to try it all.
Judge you at all because I love doing things that look a little bit weird. I haven't done the Pilates, but I again saw some of your content. I think it was around cold plunge pools or ice baths and things like that. And when I heard about that, it's like, I got to try that. So I have a cold plunge pool. I mean, mind you, it's winter here. It's so cold that I could just go in the swimming pool. It would be freezing. But I gave that a go. How did you find that? Because I don't mind it. And then there are other people like, no way, like can't even do a cold shower. How did you find it?
So cold plunging, I mean, that was something kind of random. So my family is very athletic. We were all actually diagnosed with Lyme disease 2, 3 years ago. And because of that, it's completely changed the way that we've looked at health. I mean, again, we were active. We were runners. I did karate. I got my black belt when I was 12 years old. Like, we were out there doing everything and never had health issues. So once we got this diagnosis, all of us having different types of tick-borne illness, we tried different things. So now we have a sauna in our house because we need to release those toxins through different ways. Because some days, with Lyme, you wake up and you don't want to go for a walk. You don't want to go to the gym. You just need to get the crap out of you.
Yeah.
And cold plunging, to answer your question, was kind of one of those things that came about with that.
Right.
My stepdad also does some amateur fighting, and I think that it was like helping him with his training process. But when I first got in that thing, I lasted maybe 5 seconds. But I eventually, over time, said, it's good for me. And just like anything else in life, if you just keep going back to it, you keep
Yeah.
trying and practicing those muscles and those reps, you eventually just say, you know what, I can do this. You gain that confidence. And that's kind of what happened with me. Like, again, I went from 5 seconds to now being able to sit in there for like 10 minutes. And in the
Yeah.
winter, there are days where we've had snowstorms here in New Hampshire, and I'll go outside after my sauna and just, sit there with my arms crossed, trying not to let the water move around me because then it hurts more. But yeah, if you try it in the winter, it's a game changer. I'm telling you, it's kind of feels the same as if you do it in the summer, to be honest.
It always struck me that it hurts, that when it's really cold, it hurts. I didn't expect that. But then if you stick it out, then it starts feeling a lot better, but you got to get through that pain. But I don't know. I'm not doing it in snow or ice. So, I mean, you're braver than me.
Well, your body is going into shock. So that's your body's way sort of dealing with that. That's why maybe you get like a tingly feeling, or
Yeah.
you kind of feel like you're losing your breath. That's kind of the point of it, is to get that adrenaline rush. But I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it feels amazing after.
Yeah. No, that's why I do it, because afterwards it feels amazing. It's just that when you step into it for the first time in a cold morning, you can sometimes regret your life choices. Tell the audience watching, and myself included, more about Lyme disease. So I know a little bit about it from watching way too many medical documentaries, but it's caused by ticks, as in the same things that a cat or dog would get. What happened specifically to lead to you and your family having Lyme disease?
It was not the linear process that you probably think of. Most people, when they hear Lyme disease, they think, oh, the bullseye. You find something
Yeah.
on your arm or your leg after hiking. You're outside, you see the red dot with the red ring around it. My family and I did not have that experience. So my mother, again, I think it's important to kind of harp on the level of athleticism and health in our family, because when my mom was around, I think late 30s, early 40s, she started to feel like she was going to have a heart attack. And my mom is a runner. She probably is the most athletic person that I know. So we were all very surprised as a family to kind of hear that she was going through that. Long story short, she ended up in the ER multiple times thinking she was going to have a heart attack. And all of her tests came back for her heart like normal. Nothing was
Yeah.
wrong. So my mom just did some really deep digging and eventually got to the right doctors, the right tests. And sure enough, it was a form of tick-borne illness. And my sister was experiencing different symptoms. My brother, like, could not be more opposite. For me, I was similar to my mom, but my brother was mental health issues. My sister couldn't eat a lot of food. She would have a lot of gut issues. So we all just tested. We said, you know what? Let's see what happens. Maybe, who knows? And sure enough, we all came back with a positive response to some form of tick-borne illness. But I think when people ask me, how can you protect yourself, or how do you know? The symptoms are so broad that you may never actually know. But what you can do is stay informed, right? You can figure out what tests are accurate or the most accurate so that you can start your treatment process if you do have it. But mainly the big symptoms, again, it's that bullseye or intense fatigue. We
Yeah.
spent a lot of days as a family just chilling out because that's kind of some days all you could do. But I always say, if you maybe have an inkling of it, rule it out. You never know. And it's better, even though if you get that diagnosis, it's a bummer, at least you
Yeah.
can start that process. And the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
So I always advocate to test as soon as you can.
How much of your mum's journey was self-diagnosis? Because from the sounds of it, she almost had to diagnose herself. The doctors weren't of much use.
So my mom found a specialist basically because she did not self-diagnose, but kind of, because she did all of this research
Yeah.
into what it could be. And that within that process of ruling it out, that was when she found the Lyme specialist. And the Lyme specialist had her go through a private lab, take a test that will basically run your blood through 200 types of tick-borne illness, which is the one that, we all took as a family together. And that was how she really got the positive answer, because a lot of the times when you go to your primary care doctor, they'll test you for a few. And
Yeah.
so, sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't. Lyme, and also when you're symptomatic, like, you're more likely to test positive. And if you're not symptomatic, if it's hiding in you, you may
Yeah.
not even get a positive test result technically. So once she found that specialist, it was hope for all of us, because not only are they helping us with Lyme, but they're just helping us with quality of life, right? Like, you can't go wrong
Yeah.
with a naturopath doctor. If you're feeling tired, I mean, they probably will be like, just have some magnesium or something. Like, it could just be a quick
Yeah.
fix. But yeah, that process was really hard for her. She had to do a lot of research, and it was difficult to find those people who, can help you, because doctors tell you one thing, but you need a little more sometimes. And that was a good example of that.
Let me ask you the silly beginner's question. So, is the only way to contract Lyme disease being bitten by a tick? And then, if so, like, how? I mean, do you have to find yourself with a tick on you, and then you go, yes, okay, that might have given me Lyme disease? Is there any way to catch it without getting bitten by the tick? And then, are there a lot of ticks around where you're at? Because I don't know anything about New Hampshire, so.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, just New England as a whole, I mean, we are known for our national parks, our
Right.
mountains, also just our gorgeous beaches as well. We have a bit of everything here in the Granite State and in New England. And when I say New England, I'm talking like Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, those surrounding states. But we're known for those national parks. We spend a lot of time outside. So yes, whether your dog's going outside to go to the bathroom at night, they could have a tick from that, or you're hiking in the White Mountains. It can happen through that. But kind of like answering your question some more, I got off track a bit. Oh, yes. So I think that ultimately there just needs to be more research done, right? Because for us, when we didn't see the bullseyes, how would we have known, right? Unless
Yeah.
we had like gone out of our way to kind of do our own research and suspect what it could be. So I'm not sure, to answer your question. I think there's more research being done to kind of figure out if
Yeah.
it could be a hereditary issue. But bugs carry so many diseases in general, like even the mosquitoes that are in
Mm.
New Hampshire. The bug bites that they leave can be nasty. Spider bites, those things, not saying those things give you Lyme disease. However, they can leave you feeling like crap sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure that you understand how spider bites are over where you are and how crazy spiders can be.
Oh, that's
So
right.
you get
I
the bugs
sent you.
are psycho.
Yeah, I sent you the video of the spider at the bottom of the cup. I'm remembering now. You didn't seem to enjoy that particularly.
Terrifying. It's funny. I would love to come and visit Australia, but the critters really make me second guess that trip.
I will tell you, honest to God, if you want to come over here, it's not the critters you need to worry about. It's actually the trees. We have eucalyptus trees, the ones that the koalas like to sit in, and they could be 50, 60, 70 feet tall, but their branches are long and like javelins, and they will fall off quite often. And there have been people killed because gum tree branch, when I say branch, it's like a tree. I had my car screen smashed by one of them. I wasn't in the car at the time. And I'm now, because I was coaching tennis, I was phobic. Every time I hear a crack, I'd look up to find to look at where the gum tree branch was falling. So I say, as a joke, everything in Australia is trying to kill you, but even the trees. But I heard on the radio just the other day that someone was surfing and a shark came out of nowhere and bit his surfboard in half. He was fine. He's got a story to tell, but the thing bit his surfboard in half. So Australia is pretty wild. Well, that you look, you got a shot. I mean, you've reported on stuff like this before, surely. I mean, it's just another day in the park, no?
Sure. I mean, it's actually kind of ironic you mentioned sharks because in New England, we have to worry about sharks now with the water getting warmer and
Right. Okay.
the seals coming closer to shore on the Massachusetts beaches, especially on the Cape. There have been a lot of shark sightings. So we're starting to worry about them too, a little bit.
Okay. Then you got nothing to worry about. You're already
Yes.
acclimatized. In terms of the Lyme disease, what's the hardest aspect of it, like learning to live with it? Because you mentioned the lethargy, like waking up and just feeling like crap. I got to imagine that when you do because there's a lot of jobs where if you feel like crap, you can still do them because you don't have to look cheerful, perky. I was a tennis coach. Like you can't, and doing this, like you can't go, on an interview or go in front of kids and be, oh yeah, just tired, do whatever you want to do because they'll run all over you. It's got to be difficult doing what you do, and then you wake up feeling like crap. It's like, oh yeah, 5 a.m. I got to go on a country radio station and sound like I'm happy about life because right now I'm really not. That's got to suck.
So when I was diagnosed, actually, I was graduating college and in the process of graduation, it was like a couple months before, and I had started on morning radio. So not only was I exhausted, but I was getting up at 4, 5 a.m. every single day to get to the studio, and then I would have to be cheerful. So needless to say, there were a lot of days where I showed up in sweatpants. Luckily, I didn't need to be on camera. And when I needed to rally, I would rally. I ran on a lot of coffee, but yes, it was very difficult. And I look back at that time in my life and it shows a lot of resilience because now where I'm not doing morning radio, I'm lucky enough to do afternoons. I think back to that time and really think about how much, like how draining that truly was. So to be on all the time, yes, it's difficult, but I love it every day. And I think that shows how much I actually love what I do because I was
Yeah.
willing to show up in those hard times. But any chance I got to rest, I was resting. So just kind of like I would doing all my jobs now or being Miss New Hampshire Volunteer. When you have downtime, you take it. Maybe you add downtime into your schedule and
Yeah.
say, you know what? I could be working out. I could be doing the family beach day, but maybe today I
Yeah.
just sleep a few extra hours. Taking my supplements is very important. My vitamins, those support me through the process. But I was very lucky. I didn't have to take antibiotics for mine. A lot of people have to take antibiotics, and that's really what messes them up. But
Yeah.
I kind of dodged that. So over time, it's worse when you're first diagnosed because you're purging everything out sort of
Yeah.
and really attacking those symptoms head on. But as time went on, it got better. And now I feel like I'm on the other side, even though, and I'm not a doctor, but Lyme kind of stays in you forever. Like your symptoms
Yeah.
will come up when they come up, especially if you're not taking care of yourself. But
Right.
I found that I'm at a good place now. I really, really focused on getting in the sauna, getting movement, and purging those toxins and prioritizing rest at those times. And it's paid off.
So it's something that you have to learn to manage and live with more so than hoping one day you're going to be miraculously cured.
Yes, because you can wake up one day and feel amazing. You can feel
Yeah.
normal, but you may wake up the next week and feel like you started back from square one. And that
Yeah.
really depends on kind of what type of tick-borne illness you have, but also how early you handled it. If you immediately go on an antibiotic and after you're bit, your chances of feeling those long-term symptoms are much smaller, if not maybe zero. I have friends who have
Right.
been bit by ticks and they went on that antibiotic, they're good. But if you're like maybe me or my mom or my brother, sister, you may have those long-term effects because you never really knew it was an issue in the first place.
Yeah. Talk to me about, I mean, you do so many different things. I guess I would classify it broadly as content creation, maybe. I mean, can you tell me about, it's very rare that I meet someone who does more content creation than I do. And you do all sorts of different types. So there's radio, it's like that old compliment people give, you got a face for radio. It's like, I love that one.
Mm-hmm.
But you do radio where it's all voice, and then you have to be in front of camera because you said initially that you didn't feel like you could do camera, but now you're in front of camera a lot. What is it that you love about content creation? And frankly, do you ever find it difficult to switch off? Because I will find myself sometimes doom scrolling because I just get these ideas in my head. But content creation, what is it about it? What about it What is it about that you love?
Well, I I think I've thought a lot about this because like what has drawn me to this career in media, and I think it's just the natural drive that I've always had to like do really well at what I love. Looking back to when I got my black belt when I was 12, nobody forced that on me. That was something I wanted to excel at, and it took over a lot of my life. I trained for 6 years to get my black belt in Shaolin Kempo Karate. I started at 6 and went to 12, and I think a lot of those skills are just instilled in me forever, that dedication, that determination. And I remember when I was younger, I really wanted to be on Disney. I don't know why. I would just watch the shows and be like, "Wow, this is what this is what I want." TV, yes. And my mom always said, "You got to wait. You got to go to school. You got to be a normal
Yeah.
person." Like, and I of course appreciate that looking back, but I think that with my personality sort of gave me that drive. And as I reflect on that time in my life, I always wanted to have somebody who was a role model that I could look up to sort of in my community because, like I said before, no one was really doing TV
Right.
when I was younger that I saw in my community other than like local news.
Yeah.
And on top of it all, when I first got into the industry, I wasn't the standard stick thin model. I am an athlete. I have some muscle on me. And so, at the time, a lot of people weren't accepted into the industry like that. So I think kind of paving my own way was so important to me. And with social media, I always say this to people: you have so much control of your career if you take advantage of social media. I would not do any of the things that I do today unless I sat down and said, you know what, I'm going to start posting. I'll post my portfolio, I'll post this random video because I've used it as a tool to network and get
Yeah.
opportunities that wouldn't have presented itself without it. And
Yeah.
yeah, so part of it's always that drive, but just kind of fulfilling that like childhood love of just wanting to bring joy to others and showing, especially young girls, that they can do this too. And it's not that complicated if you put your mind to it.
How did you, if I can take you back to maybe the first time you were exposed to social media, I don't know how long ago it was. I'm old enough to have grown up in a period where we didn't have social media. Now I spend every day on it. But what were your first steps into social media like? And I ask this because I quite often get asked by people about social media and they're like, oh, I need to do social media, but I can't get any traction. I don't know what to post. And it's kind of like they're very reluctant to do it. And I find like if you're reluctant to do it, you don't see the benefits of it, then you're always sort of going to be dragging like, 5 steps forward, 6 steps back sort of thing. What were your first steps with social media like? Did you love it from the get-go and when you graded it, or was it a learning process?
1,000% learning. I was first introduced to Instagram when I was 10, and I didn't even know it was a social media platform. It had just come out. I had my little iPod, like not shuffle, iPod touch.
Yeah.
And I saw it in the app store and downloaded it for fun. And I was like, oh, cool, photo app. From there was a little bit like of an obsession. And I was scrolling a little bit as my friends like started to get on the platforms, but I quickly realized it could be a tool to be creative. I started making, I don't know if you ever remember these, but I started making those comic posts where it would be like the 4 squares and it would be the little skits. I
Yeah.
was making those. And that's how, when I was like, I think I was 16 or maybe even younger, I had like 2,000 Instagram followers, and all my friends were like, how did you do that? And it's because
Yeah.
I was posting this like random creative stuff. And then I got embarrassed. I got in my own head and said, I'm going to stop doing it. And when I decided to go back into modeling or go into the modeling world, that's when I said, I'm going to take it seriously because you have the opportunity to make your own brand. You have the opportunity to be who you want to be and kind of show your potential. So for me, it was just filming everything. And I like video editing a lot. So for me, it wasn't really a tedious thing because I had so many videos that I've just throw together. And at one point I had a podcast. So like I love the creative component of it. For me, it was just fun. But for some people, they don't see it like that. They see it as a force and they're like, oh, well, but if you find the good in it, I know
Yeah.
social media can be overwhelming. It's easy to scroll. It's easy to compare yourself to others, but kind of finding that like opportunity in it, I think is what made me say, you know what, let's try it and see what happens. And if people make fun of me, well, that's their problem, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
happy doing what I'm doing. I'm posting. I would be wrong not to mention the comparison component. And that's a big part, I think, of my drive, is constantly seeing what other people are doing. And because it's the never ending cycle of what people have.
Yeah.
So that was like one big problem for me when I started and I had those limiting beliefs sort of because all these people, especially people at my age, you can do whatever. So they had these incredible opportunities that I was like, wait, why can't I do that too? But again, when you make it your own and you add your sparkle, there's room for everybody. You just have to commit to it and find the love in it.
What's the difference between someone who just posts aimlessly and then someone like you who sounds like you're quite, at least at this point, you've been intentional, you've been successful in building a brand around yourself, you're doing very well, you have all these opportunities. But I don't think that ever happens just by accident. I don't think you can just post whatever and then these opportunities fall in your lap. So what's the biggest difference between someone who just posts randomly and wants to get famous and someone who posts with an intention to, I want to create this sort of opportunity to myself, so I need to create this sort of content? What's the biggest difference?
That's where it becomes a force. I might have a hot take on this one because for me, I didn't have a lane. And when I really was starting to post, I was having a ton of doubt about that because everybody has their niche, right? That's what makes them grow. So they say. That's what the algorithm likes. I don't know. But for me, I wanted to be this multifaceted personality. I didn't want to do just radio or TV or modeling and stick to that. To me, that was boring. So I actually kind of got to a point where I was posting whatever I wanted to. And for me, I said, people will love me for me, no matter if that's 100 people or if that's 10, 100 million people. It doesn't matter what the number is, as long as I'm able to do what I love and I'm happy. And it's not a force, because once it becomes a force, it's not worth it in my eyes. However, there are brands that have strategies and there is a method to the madness and they do well. Yeah. And I'm not a viral content creator, but when it comes to my brand, at this point, with all the trial and error I've had and thought that I put into my posts, I know now what I wanted to post. But at first it wasn't like that.
I find that the whole niche idea and, niche, whatever you call it, and people say, oh, you got to start, narrow and then you can diversify. And I think maybe that's one bit of wisdom for brands, like actual companies or businesses. But I think when it comes to people, and you tell me your thoughts on this, I'm interested in people. And I think very often, you rarely meet someone and all they do is one thing. Right? All they do is ever talk about this thing. That's all they do. And then they go to sleep and then they repeat cycle. It's like people are by definition multifaceted, especially in this day and age. And so I think you need to be willing to show different parts of it. But the common wisdom is that, you need to define yourself. What's your niche? What's your unique selling point? And then just post on that. You sound like you haven't followed that wisdom, so to speak.
I tried, and then it felt inauthentic. And that's where you lose people, when you start to be inauthentic, when you start to cater to a certain audience because you think that's right. What is so beautiful about humans is that we know when something's authentic. We just have a sixth sense. Even if you consciously know that or not. And I think that does translate into social media a little bit as well. So that's ultimately why I just prioritize that authenticity. But I know people who will let the trends and their audience sort of dictate what they post, because they posted one-off video and it did really well. And now their audience wants to see that. So I think it depends also on maybe your luck, so to say, maybe what goes viral. But for me, I knew no matter what, it was always going to be important for me to stick to being authentic, showing the real side, the behind the scenes of everything, because TV and modeling can be so glamorous and overwhelming, but it also has its sides too that I think people don't really think about. You're standing in a casting line for 3 hours waiting to be seen, and you may not even be seen that day. Let's post that, so that everybody sees the whole picture.
Also, sometimes going viral can be a double-edged sword, because sometimes you go viral for something silly you posted. It's nothing to do with your brand. I remember back in the early days of TikTok, I posted a seagull video here in Australia. And the seagull, I was filming myself walking into the waves, and a seagull walked in front of it, stared at the camera, and then walked off. And I just thought, this is stupid. I'll post it on TikTok. And then it went viral, hundreds of thousands of views. But then when I posted stuff about pageants, no one was watching because they had all come to see TikToks, like seagull stuff, like seagull talk. And so I think maybe sometimes going viral is not everything that we dream it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And can I just say this, like, you may look at your 1.1 million views on your viral seagull video and say, whoa, that's incredible. But if you think about a room of people and your video has 200 views, if you were looking at that in a room and you saw 200 people watching your video, you'd be like, whoa, that's insane that all of these people are viewing my content. And obviously we don't look at it like that because with everybody doing social media now, anybody can do it. It's like, everybody thinks about being viral. Everyone wants to be famous, but it's really truly with anything in life, all about perspective, like, and what you want out of social media.
Talk to me about content creation, like how you do it. Cause you see, your story was just shot like very impromptu today, the one about the Pilates, but then sometimes you're in your car, sometimes you're out and about. Do you have to travel with like a suitcase of laptop, ring light, tripod, Steadicam? Are you just taking your phone? Are there lapel mics? Is there a production crew tailing you 24/7? Like, I'm curious because people go, oh, it's the content creation. I don't know how to edit a video. I don't know how to do a podcast. And I'm scared, like, I turn on the camera. What do I say? How do you approach this whole thing? Like, what does it look like?
Of course, it can be super overwhelming. It really depends. Obviously, if I'm filming for TV, there's a crew. But when I do my NESN show, Meet Boston, I film that all from my phone. But in terms of like daily vlogging or random videos, I'm trying to do more impromptu stuff because that's what people want. I did a little survey. So my small case study of like 10 people were like, post more random things. So that's what I've been doing. But for me, one method that's worked well is just filming random things because I actually hate filming in public. I would rather film with a huge camera crew and just do my job because it's my job versus having my phone and being like, hey guys, today I'm getting froyo. Like, to me, that seems weird. And I don't know why. It's totally a mental thing. So for me, my transition into like getting more comfortable into that video content was just filming random parts of my day and putting it together with some text, which I'm sure you saw if you did your research, as you said. And to me, that's like the most comfortable and easy way to make content because if I want to post, but I don't want to be on camera, that's the best way. However, my vlogs in the next couple of days will have more talking. We're going to see how that goes. But to answer your question about equipment, it's usually just my phone. Sometimes I have a tripod. If I'm doing a street interview, there's probably a tripod, maybe a light if it's dark. But most of the time it's me, myself, and my phone. And I edit on my phone too with an app called VN. It's free. It's the best app I've ever used for literally anything. So I would recommend if you want to get into content creation more or edit in a different way, it has a whole bunch of options.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that. I mean, Instagram dropped their edits app, and obviously there's CapCut, but VN, I'll have to look into that. It's interesting that you mentioned the whole, you feel a bit weird about taking out your phone and doing the, hi, follow me to a day in the life of, and here I go to my Starbucks. Because I've always found that, if some people, you put the camera in front of them and they just freeze. And I have a very good friend who she just says she's shameless. She'll film absolutely anything. So it sounds to me like I was expecting you to be more the shameless route, but it sounds to me like if you are filming in public by yourself, you still feel a little bit self-conscious about it?
1,000%, yes. And even when I think, okay, now's the time, I'm going to take out my phone, it's going to happen, it still feels like I'm holding back a little. So it's definitely a mental thing, which is funny. Maybe because when I'm with a camera crew, I think of it as work. Like it's supposed to happen. This is my job. Here I go. I'm locking in. Nothing else matters. But when it comes to social media, I'm still working on that. It is totally a mental thing. We'll get over it, but it'll just take some reps.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels a bit weird about bringing out the camera in public and talking to myself all the time. Can you tell me how you went about creating the opportunities for yourself? We talked a little bit about this before, and obviously you started building your social following quite young. But then how do you go from that to, I saw that video you posted where you were having espresso martinis and looked like you were basically having to eat food and have drinks for a living. You poor thing. How do you go from, okay, I've got a social media following to creating opportunities like that? Because I got to imagine it didn't just fall in your lap. You had to go and do something yourself.
Yes. When the COVID pandemic hit, I was kind of in modeling. I was still in college. I was a freshman, actually. And it was
Right.
right around my spring break. So I had a little bit of normal college. I got the experience, but I kind of knew that modeling just wasn't enough. Like it was a gateway to something that I really wanted to do. And I know that COVID was a very tough time for a lot of people, but I used it as the chance to get in people's faces that didn't know I existed because everybody was at home. Nobody had anything to do. They could really, well, they could do what they wanted, but like you didn't have to go into the office, drive to Boston in the traffic. And so I started cold DMing people. I started researching. I was diving deep into opportunities in my area because New Hampshire is a great state. But in my mind, I was like, I think Boston's going to get me there quicker. So I started messaging people in Boston, which was only an hour from me. And when the restrictions started to like lift, I actually kind of landed something with a magazine. I said, I will volunteer. I don't care. And that's the beauty of when you're in college, like you have that opportunity to give yourself to do things for free and get those experiences and say, hey, maybe this is what I want to do, but maybe not. Like you can kind of tell. And that was what I was doing. I said, you know what? If I go to this magazine and it doesn't work out, I never have to do it again, right? They're not paying me. I can leave at any time. So I said, hey, I would really love to find a way to get involved, maybe write. But if there's like an event, I can, because they would do sort of like these magazine launch parties. So they would have events. And I knew that there were people there that I would want to talk to. I was very strategic about it.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, if there's anything you need, let me know. They got back to me. And when the restrictions lifted, I went to my first event with them. And I actually always tell people that was like the way I pressed the gas because social media was great, but I didn't really know what I wanted with that. I didn't really want to pursue socials. So it was like, what do I do? So I used it to network instead. And when I got to that event, that is where I met the NESN crew that I now work with, which I didn't even know that NESN crew was going to be there. I was there for different purposes, but I do think that that's interesting because it was meant to kind of work out that way, right? And we got talking. They said, hey, like, let's work together. And a couple months later, I was in Boston filming for them. They threw me onto a shoot day with no experience, but I wanted it so bad that I was like, I don't care. Let's just do it. And if I fail, I'm 21, 20 years old. It doesn't matter. At that point, I think I was heading into my junior year when things kind of lifted, but it was a tool. Social media was a tool to network. I had to build those opportunities myself because nobody was going to help me with that. I didn't have any connections in the industry, and that's okay. It's just, that's how badly I wanted to be involved. So to me, that made the most sense. And that's how I had the most control at the time without like packing up my life and moving to New York City to go like intern for Good Morning America or something.
How much of your success, I'm sure you're going to have future success, but at this stage, how much of your success would you say has just been built off that attitude of, I'm going to cold DM, worst thing they can do is say no, and also this idea that I may not know how to do it yet, but I'll find a way? Because it sounds like, I got thrown into this opportunity, I had no experience. It's okay, I'll figure it out. Because I feel like in content creation and entrepreneurialism in general, you really need that attitude of like, first off, no fear. If you get rejected, it sucks, but I'll go again. That's fine. But it's also like, I don't know how to do it yet. Whereas a lot of other people say, I don't know how, I can't do video editing. I'm not a computer person. But I found other people go, I'll figure it out. Because that sounds like you.
Yes. And let me be clear. The first day that I went to my first shoot, I was freaking out. I was sitting in Boston traffic, bumper to bumper, like gripping the steering wheel, thinking, how am I going to make this happen? What did I just sign myself up for? Because truly, I was about to go be on camera, on TV.
Yeah.
Thank goodness it wasn't live for my first time, but I was still going to be on camera and I had to figure it out and make it look natural. I got the script like an hour before. So I think, it's all of the attitude, like you're saying. And even with whether it's social media, TV, I didn't know anything about radio. I threw myself into radio and just found that company or person that would give me that opportunity.
Yeah.
But that 1,000% goes with everything. And even this pageant world,
Hmm.
for me, I started in Miss America. There was a Miss New Hampshire, Brooke Mills, who is a great friend of mine now, but she was like, you should just do it. And then when
Yeah.
that light kind of clicks and you're like, okay, I can lock in, I can figure it out. That's when I said, it's time. I always said I'll never do a pageant. And then I should just stop saying never, because every time I say never, it brings me to that area of life. But truly, like, it's been so exciting and transformational. And I don't think I would be able to get on the pageant stage without having that mindset,
Yeah.
because all of the opportunities I've had have built me to this point to be a
Yeah.
great leader and hopefully to be Miss Volunteer America. And I hope that people can find that in themselves. I think that they can. They just have to find something that they actually want that badly, and then they'll do it. And that's why, self-made entrepreneurs
Yeah.
work even all the time, because they are so passionate about what they do, and it doesn't matter because it's what they love. And I think that's really what fueled it for me at the end of the day, that attitude, because without it, you're not going to have it.
I want to ask, where do you think this attitude of yours came from? Because a lot of people, they just want something that's easy, comfortable, dependable, and being an entrepreneur is the opposite of that. Someone said being an entrepreneur is making enough money to pay for your mistakes, which I think is very true. And, you never get a sick day unless you want to pay yourself sick leave or something like that. And it's a very different world. It's very uncertain. You need to sort of live into that and almost enjoy the chaos. Did you always have that attitude, or did you develop it somewhere? Did you get it from a parent, a friend?
It's hard to say. I think just the wanting it so badly growing up and being like, you know what, mom, you're telling me no now, but someday when I get
Mhm.
into the right rooms and get to the right people, we're going to make it happen. And I've always had this love. Growing up, I also had a love for musical theater too. So acting has kind of always been something that I've just loved, and being in front of the camera, and just kind of being in the spotlight, even that was a
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of theater. So I think a mix of kind of the consistent rejection that goes into the industry, and also just my mom being like, well, you got to wait. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll show you I can do it now. Um, and a mix of that with just the curiosity of like what the industry looked like and what actually goes into it. I've just fallen more in love with it every single day. And I just can't wait to bring these skills into other points in my life, because
Yeah.
the determination, the networking, and even like finding confidence in who I am, I'm still
Mm.
like working on those components, but in the ways that I am confident, they're so strong and they can help me help others too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I started out as. Like, I always wanted to find somebody who was like me so that I could like mock that career and do it myself. So my part of my main goal is really just to allow and give people the grace to look at what I do and be like, okay, maybe she failed at that one thing, but she's still going. She's got all this, or I can follow her career and do that at some point too. I mean, I'm an
Yeah.
older sibling. I am a natural born leader in that sense as well. And
Yeah.
I have three sisters, all of which are going to go and do their own things. They don't have to do media. I would never force that upon them, but they can have all of these opportunities that maybe I didn't have when I was younger.
Yeah.
And have these cool experiences like meeting artists and going to concerts and being a part of the pageant world, like things that they may have never even thought were an option, like growing up in a small state. So any
Yeah.
way I can share the wealth too is equally as rewarding as being in those rooms for the opportunities that I've landed.
It's like you're a trailblazer. You're paving the way, maybe to inspire someone to follow in your footsteps. Let me ask you this: we're living in a bold new world. You're an entrepreneur, so you're at the coalface of it. Some things are going to stay the same, but some things are going to radically change. We see, Instagram, then TikTok, and then God knows what's next. But then there are some things that you've pointed to, like courage, resilience, figuring it out. So I'm curious, from your point of view, doing what you do, what things do you think are going to remain the same and still remain important? And that's probably things like just having the guts to try something. But what are also some of the trends that you're seeing towards content creation that you think it's important that people embrace or get in front of to continue to remain relevant? I'm thinking of things like AI, for example, is huge. But what's going to remain the same in the content creation space, and what's going to change?
Yeah, I guess I basically was just saying like trends will always be changing. They'll always be a thing, I think, as long as social
Yeah.
media is the same as we know it. What could eventually be a component, and this is kind of random, but maybe like a sensory component. I mean, we're looking at all of like the headsets that we have, like virtual reality. Maybe there will be a time where you can like, I don't know, touch a video or smell a video. I don't know how long that would be until that happens, but there are AI creators that are out there. I just hope that we continue to advocate for having humans to some capacity involved
Yeah.
because it's what makes content relatable. You know, I think AI is a helpful tool for content creation, whether it's editing or captions, things like that, that can be automated fast. But yeah, that relatability is important. I think that can only be done by humans.
Yeah, I've worked a lot in AI, and there's so many things it can do. But I think the one thing it definitively is bad at is creativity. Like coming up with something new, whether you call that the human spark, the human soul, whatever you want to call it. It's just so bad at that. And I think it will always remain bad at it because I don't think it can mimic a human. I don't know if you saw, but the founder of, or the CEO of Instagram put out a video just today. And now on Instagram with Reels, you can have it automatically dub into Spanish. And so he was told, he put out a reel where he's saying, you know, we're debuting this feature on Reels and it can be dubbed into Spanish automatically. And then you swipe, and then it's exactly him again, giving the same speech with the same inflections. And he's speaking, I assume, flawless Spanish. I don't know. It could be terrible. But it's like one of those things, and you just go, hang on, like he's gone from speaking English, one swipe, Spanish. That's why I wanted to get your feedback on it, because I think it's such the world that content creators are going into. I don't think any of us can know what's coming in a year's time, like let alone 3 months from now. And so it can be really scary, but you've got to stay sort of able to move with it. I want to ask you, because you've worked in so many different content creation spheres, like radio, it doesn't matter what you dress up as, no one's going to see that. But then modeling is like, it's not an audio component, it is purely pretty much the visual. What are the different parts of those different content creation vehicles that you like, and what are the parts that you don't like? So whether it's radio, TV, modeling, what are your favorite parts about each one? And what are the parts that you'd rather not have to do if you didn't have to?
Well, I quickly realized that modeling isn't the glamorous world that we think it is. However, I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to try it. So I'm glad that I've done it. But for me, showing my personality and be able like to have the opportunity to speak has given me the most success. So modeling is fun. It's great to get your makeup done and it's nice to be paid well for doing a campaign. But when it comes to video, like being on camera on NESN or a commercial or even radio, it is so much fun because you get to be you and or some version of you. Like you find your place, whether it's on a show, like on a morning show, or you get to make your own sort of brand as well. I know that that was part of like the TV process for me, was kind of saying, all right, how do I want to be on air? Do I want to be stoic? Do I want to be fun? What's that going to look like? And for radio, that kind of took a while for me to figure out because there's no visual component
Yeah,
unless you're looking at like bits from on social media of the show kind of in like real time, which does exist. But to answer your question, I think when it comes to speaking, so like radio and TV, it's being able to show who I am and yeah, just be myself. But when it comes to modeling, it's the fun side. It's the makeup and the but standing in the poses too when it's like a photo, it is the worst, in my opinion. There are some people that are just so good at it, and I really struggle, like, standing in the basic, like, e-com post. Like, I've shot for Timberland, and I love the stuff, so nice, but it's just, like, you know, it's very just this kind of and that's just not me. I thrive when I'm myself, and I get to do that on radio and TV and social media too because you control what's out there.
How do they give you directions on how to pose, just quickly? Because I often look at pageant girls posing and I say it's like the sore neck pose, or it's like I've got a headache pose, and it's like I've got a really bad headache, so now I have two hands on my head. And I just look at it and go, what are you thinking? Like sometimes it looks like you're just thinking about food and hamburgers. Like, how do you do that posing? Like, is anything going through your head, or are you just hoping that the picture comes out right?
Oh, things absolutely have to be going through your head, because if they aren't, it's going to show in the photo.
Right.
So like, for example, if you're modeling something, I don't know, on the scandalous side, you kind of want to show that fierce, sassy energy, or else it's just not going to translate. Something will feel off about the photo when you look back at
Right.
it.
Okay.
And that's a perfect example. When it comes to ecom, like you're shooting clothes, they don't really care about your face because it's not
It's
about
just
your
the
face, it's
clothes.
about the
Yeah.
clothes, which is awful, but it's the truth. So you do have to think, you have to kind of embody like what you want the shot to be.
Mm.
In pageants, I try to take that mindset into the pageant world. And I hope that when I go to a shoot, which usually this is the case, we just kind of get the shot. Like,
Yeah.
because to me, that's the least important part of the job. Like, it's exciting and it's fun to go to a photo shoot, but there's so much more that's a part of being a part of the Miss Volunteer America program. So I'm glad that I know the skill because I can show up and do my
Yeah.
job, and like it can be quick. But yeah, just really thinking about what that is going to look like is super important. And also staying really fluid in your motions, believe it or not. If you're moving slow, you can actually kind of get that natural shot without holding the unnatural whatever pose,
Okay.
because you're kind of holding the pose, but there's a natural component because you're moving. So that helps too.
Okay, I'll have to watch this back and get some pointers and tips from it, because I am the worst at taking photos in the world. I'm lucky if my eyes are open. Just before we go on to pageants, because we should discuss pageants, how much of what you do on a regular basis is scripted and you have to learn some sort of what am I going to say? And then how much of it is just off the cuff and having to come up with stuff on the fly?
I really dislike scripted things. I
Okay.
struggle with scripts because it kind of takes away the opportunity for me to be myself a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always. That's more in the acting world. And that's kind of why I've steered away a little bit from acting. It just doesn't feel as authentic to
Yeah.
me. But there are some things or days where I'll get a script. A lot of the times, like when I do TV, they'll sort of hand me a script and say, hey, get the points, get the who, what, where, when, why.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of say it how it feels natural, which is probably where I'll do the best. But there have been times where I've been thrown into interviews also with like very important people. And I've had no clue like who they are or what they do. And you just adapt. I mean, that is media. You just adapt and you slightly pivot. There's always like some pretty generic questions, especially when you're at an event that you can kind of like ask. For
Yeah.
example, I was at Miami Swim Week. There was someone there who wasn't a model who was like a pretty big figure in media. And I remember being like, I don't know who this guy is, but we're going to have an awesome interview because we're at this event. What does it mean to you in your work? You can keep it general. And then kind of like we're doing now, as the conversation continues, you can ask more questions when they give you those like tidbits. So I think when you're interviewing something, it's a lot different than hosting, because when you're hosting, you're doing I'm here and saying this
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this is where we are. And when you're interviewing somebody, that's one big, I guess, challenge of mine. That was the word. Thank you. It's one big
You're welcome.
challenge of mine is you reminded me of the word, I guess. But no, it's like, it's really getting out of your head. It's really easy to get in your head because you're in front of a camera and you feel like you have to say things a certain way and
Yeah.
talk a certain way sometimes. But when you actually listen to what the other person is saying to you, which was hard for me to do for a long time, it changes the interview, makes it way more chill. And then you can ask those questions without feeling like, okay, I have to ask them this next, or we have to cover this. You just let the conversation happen.
Yeah, people don't understand that listening is actually the most important part of the interview, not the speaking. But I'm so glad I'm not the only person who does interviews sometimes and has no idea who the other person is, or they mention something and you just have to nod along and go, "Yeah, I know what you're talking about," and you have no idea what they're talking about. Because I was going to ask, like, do you ever get stuck for what to say? Because it doesn't surprise me that you veer away from scripts a bit, and obviously acting is a bit more scriptish, and so that maybe it wasn't a natural fit. But a lot of people are very scared that if they go and do, a red carpet show or Miami Swim Week or whatever it is, they won't know what to say. So have you ever had any struggles with that? Because it sounds like you've loved where you are, like you've been intentional about where you wanted to get to for a long time. Were there any skills, and I'm sure there are, it's a silly question, but what skill did you need to learn in terms of, okay, now I'm here, these are the skills I need to learn. I need to learn how to verbalize, articulate, not take 10 years getting to the point, learn to listen. What were the skill sets that you needed to learn to enable you to be where you're at today?
Ultimately, it was accepting the failures. That is a really difficult thing for me to do, but it's crucial in learning how to do the job. I remember when I started doing sideline reporting, and that was the first time I'd ever done live TV. And I was on the sidelines for a team here in Massachusetts, actually. It was called the Massachusetts Pirates. They were in arena football. They're still playing. And I just had like no clue what was going on. I didn't know the sport. I know, like truly, I didn't know the sport. I didn't know the players, but I so badly wanted to learn that I said, you know what? I'm going to make a fool of myself on live TV and I don't care because I need to learn this skill. I work in New England, which is such a heavy sports area.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the
Yeah.
Boston Red Sox who have won a number of World Series, the New England Patriots who were on their run for a while with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. And then you look at the Bruins who have won Stanley Cups and now the Celtics who are like our reigning team here in
Yeah.
New England. And they just won the NBA championships. Like, just to not take advantage of the sports opportunity. Anyway, I'm slightly off topic, but the point is I had to make a fool of myself on live TV because I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know the plays, and it's awful in that moment because especially when I'm a perfectionist and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask a dumb question right now. And that's just how it is. But I think I kind of hate the saying fake it till you make it, but it truly is because especially with my journey, I knew nothing. I had to teach everything to myself when it came
Yeah.
to how to speak on
Yeah.
camera, how to dress on camera, and even what types of questions to ask. But if you're okay with messing up, it's okay. And now that I've done it a few times, I've been like, okay, now if I don't know what to ask, I can at least fall back on this. Or I know it's okay to end the interview prematurely. Like it's okay to say, all right, we got what we needed to get out of that. You don't need to ask 3 questions. Who put that number in your head? I don't know. But like, I don't need to be asking a certain number of questions. Just let it happen, what makes sense, and then move on. And knowing how you act in those situations, you got to stay calm, cool, collected. That's the biggest thing. And if there's one strength that I had, it's like that was the one. So I could at least kind of look like I knew what I was doing, even if I didn't. But it's a learning process, and you got to be able to handle that.
It was a talk show. I think it might have been Graham Norton, and he had an English comedian on who was the most unsporting person you've ever seen, like pale and redhead. And I think he had David Beckham on next to him. And so, ultimate cool athlete. And the comedian was saying that he had no idea about any sport and he didn't know what to say, but he knew he needed to sound cool. So he just said, keep kicking those balls. And I was like, it was
Man.
absolutely terrible. But do you have any favorite moments from all the content that you've created? Is it a red carpet? Is it going to a nice restaurant? It was a meeting someone that's always been, a huge idol or celebrity to you?
I would say one of my favorite things in media, which is not on camera, I don't think, but it's just getting to meet artists. And
Right.
this is probably a selfish thing of mine because I think that I've spent so long like idolizing these people. And then when you meet them, you're like, wait, they're real people like us.
Yeah.
But also like I've had a lot of really cool opportunities on camera to like explore New Hampshire and go to a lot of places in the state that I would never go to like willingly. And same like in New England, because there are spots that I still don't know about like in the surrounding states that have been cool to explore. And I've learned so much through this career. It's taught me how to stay on my toes and be poised in the moments that you don't want to be poised, because there are people that will yell at you while you're on camera speaking, like, and that's just part of the job. But
Yeah.
I mean, meeting really great people, seeing really great places, overall, you can't beat it. The fact that I get to call myself a professional yapper is like incredible, because it's true. And I'm looking forward to doing a red carpet coming up actually in September. There is a Lyme disease runway show during New York
Oh, wow.
Fashion Week, and I'm going to be doing the red carpet for that. So it's like all my worlds collide in some ways, but I love doing red carpets. I'm all over the place answering your question, but I love red carpets too, because it's fun and everybody looks nice and everyone's excited to be there. In
Yeah.
sports, they don't really want you to talk to them. They know it's part of the job, but they're like, "Ugh, okay, I got to go talk to this girl now." Like, you know.
To be fair,
Uh,
sometimes sports reporters ask really, really terrible questions, so I don't really blame them. But okay, so out of all this, how did you get into pageantry?
and now it comes full circle. I got into pageants. I talked about this a little bit before. I met Miss New Hampshire 2023 or 2024. I'm trying to remember her year, but her name is Brooke Mills, and she was in MAO, so Miss America, and she, was the deciding factor for me. I've had people for years of my life saying, "Try a pageant, do it for me, just try it." And I was always like, I don't know, I got to be fully into it, because if I'm not, I won't be happy about
Yeah.
it and it won't fulfill me. And so Brooke and I had a conversation probably around this time last year, actually. And she was like, "This is what you can expect. Just do it." So I said, "Okay." And from there, she kind of helped me through the process. She told me like the best, um, like local directors that I could reach out to and resources that I could have to get involved. I've competed for, in total, 2 locals. There was one that I competed in. I got first runner up and won $9,000. It was a very competitive one, but it was my first time. And then my second one at MAO was my local title. I was Miss Greater Hooksett. And then from there, I went to Miss New Hampshire, and that was in April. I was third runner up, and it was my very first time. And then, so I was very proud of that. And I was kind of
Yeah.
like having the pageant bug, sort of. And so people were saying, "You should do volunteer." And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to compete again. It was a lot, and I really want to put my heart and soul into everything. And on a whim, like the day that registration closed, I signed up for Miss New Hampshire Volunteer. I said, "You know what? We'll take the wardrobe from Miss America. We're going to make it work." And so it's just crazy, because this will be my 5th pageant coming up in Jackson. For nationals for Miss Volunteer
Yeah.
America, and they're looking for a 5th Miss Volunteer America. So it could potentially be in the cards. We'll see. But yeah, the pageant world has been a whirlwind. I didn't know what to expect, but I did it to just test myself and try something new. And when I won Miss New Hampshire Volunteer, I was so excited, because I felt like all of my work was being seen and it was paying off. And then I could
Yeah.
finally sort of like start the initiatives that I was really looking forward to
Yeah.
starting in April and May. And I know you don't need a crown on your head to do certain things. However, it gives me more of a reason to, right?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
do want to start a nonprofit down the line, but like making these connections through such an incredible program like Miss Volunteer America, to be able to have those people now a phone call away is incredible. And so I not only can I not wait to go to Jackson and meet the DeMarcuses, who run Miss Volunteer America and have created it, Allison and Jay, but the entire team, all of the girls who are in the same boat, and kind of like have those like-minded people around me, and just see everybody's years and how we can help each other. And I'm so excited too to work with St. Jude this year and the Research Hospital and fundraise for them. We have a walk coming up on the 27th of September in Boston Common, and I'm raising money. I've got a team going. And so that's going to be so much fun. And as well as working with the Salvation Army this winter too, giving back for their toy drives. And on top of it all, just ultimately giving back to my SERVE initiative, which is Lyme disease awareness, and eventually further down the line, kind of starting a nonprofit and
Yeah.
helping people with expenses, because it can, I mean, same with St. Jude, like all of those expenses for paying for childhood cancer, it's like, I can't even imagine. And for families to not have to worry about a dime or pay a dime while their children are sick, it's just incredible. And I hope to do the same thing for Lyme disease, especially with it being a growing epidemic here in the state of New Hampshire and honestly beyond. So that's kind of like my year in a nutshell and like what we can look forward to. But I know, again, I keep saying this, I know it's going to go by so fast. So I'm a yes woman this year. And I'm so excited to be a yes woman.
I got to imagine you must have found some sort of home in pageantry, because you've said multiple times that if it's not authentically you, basically you can do it, but you don't really want to do it because you want to be authentic. You want to be allowed to be yourself. And so if you've stuck with pageantry, you must have felt like actually who you are, all facets, is accepted and that you didn't have to fit into the mold.
Yes. And the team that I have is so incredible. My directors, SJ and Eliza, and everybody behind the scenes. I mean, I could not be Miss New Hampshire Volunteer without the people around me, truly, because I'm almost like the face of it all. They kind of like know what to do and what opportunities are amazing for me to take this year. But they also have the confidence in me to be able to say, if you want to do something, you can do it. And I know that there are some title holders that I have spoken to in the past who don't always feel that way. And that makes me sad, because you've earned your year, you've competed and you've worked hard, and you should be excited to give back in all sorts of ways to St. Jude and Salvation Army. And I'm not saying I heard that in volunteer. I did not. But it just makes me sad. So I think it worked out the way that it was supposed to, that I have the directors that I have and the team that I have. And eventually I get to meet all of the Miss Volunteer America individuals in Jackson, and then they'll be a team. And this goes on forever from what I've heard. It's like you have these people in your corner for the rest of your life, and to have these like-minded, strong individuals, I just cannot wait for what is in store. I can't say it enough.
If this year was anything to go by, I think you're going to have a great time next year, because it's only going to get bigger and better. I don't remember seeing your winning moment photo. Is there a photo? Did you smile? Did you cry? Is it a pretty one?
I wish it was prettier than it is. I'm crying in it, of course, because I don't care. I'm like, I want it to be a natural reaction. So I'm crying and I'm like, my hands are here and like there's tears in my eyes. I'm making some weird face, but it's an authentic photo and that's very on brand for me. So it worked out. But yes, that was my crowning photo. There are some that are more poised, like that's pinned to my profile. That makes me look like didn't
I'm
just
the queen
about it.
I woke up like this.
Literally. But yeah, my crowning photo is very on brand, authentic.
Perfect. Well, Sophie, I've had you on for a while. Just before we go to the final 10 questions, is there anyone that you want to say thank you to or give a shout out to for supporting you along your journey?
Oh my gosh. So many people. Like I kind of said, my directors, SJ and Eliza. I would also like to thank Lisa Van Orden, who has been with me from the beginning of my modeling career. She's done my makeup and she's always believed in me and helped me through pretty much everything when it comes to glam. Brittany from Brittany's Boutique, she gave me my winning dress for Miss New Hampshire Volunteer, which I did wear on the Miss America stage as well. But she's like, anything you need, I got you, which is incredible. And my family too, they're like, what's going on? But we're here. Like, we're here. We're happy to be a part of it. We never thought we'd be in the pageant world, but they love it. And so my boyfriend is slowly converting into a pageant boyfriend. So we'll get there. He's still like, what's going on? But so am I. So it's just part of the process.
All right. I can always pick the pageant partners at a pageant because they're always the ones standing around awkwardly having no idea what to do. So you might need to show him the ropes and how to take a decent photo if he's not already, naturally blessed at doing so. But let's zip through these final 10. Number 1, what is your favorite word?
Favorite word? I like Delulu. And I like determination as well, but I think my fun one is Delulu because that describes me in a way. I don't think I would have any of the things that I have without some sort of delusion and being like, sure, let's do it and figure it out. So it's a good Delulu, but yeah.
That was on the radio, the news, just yesterday. Can you guess why?
It was added to the Cambridge Dictionary, I believe.
Dictionary, yeah. It's now an official word. I can't. It's like,
that's probably why I thought of it.
Probably, yeah. All right. Well, number 2, what is your least favorite word?
Oh, skibbity. We're staying on that trend. Did you hear that word was added as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, what does that one mean? I can't remember. What does that mean?
There's like 4 meanings. You think I would know because like I'm a part of the generation, but
yeah,
I really don't. I think it's just like a funny filler word. I'm probably.
It sounds terrible. It sounds like scab. So,
right? Like moist, also an awful word. Nobody needs it. Nobody.
Okay, but I ask everyone this. I understand you don't like the word moist, but then how do you describe a delicious chocolate cake? Because you don't say it's wet.
Delectable.
That's a good word. Fair enough.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that.
That's a great final answer. That's the best one I've had so far. Number 3 in life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
Making the people around me excited.
I imagine that happens quite often. Number 4, what turns you off?
People who pretend to support you and then ask for things when they need them.
What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh, sound or noise? Probably like the ring of like a little bell because I know my coffee's probably ready at the coffee bar.
How good is Boston coffee?
It depends on where you go. You can't go to Starbucks.
No. Anyone who tells me Starbucks is good coffee, I'm like, I don't hear you. I'm not listening anymore.
Well, and Dunkin' is really big here. So for me to be like, Dunkin', people are offended by that. But I do love Greystone. It's like a cute little brickstone or brownstone place on the corner in like Back Bay of Boston. That's a great spot. So you just got to find the little small places and you'll get it.
Because every time I go over to America, one of the things I worry about is where am I going to get good coffee from? Because people recommend Starbucks or Dunkin'. And I'm like, no. And then I was in Tennessee at my Airbnb and they had this giant percolator thing with Folgers in this giant orange plastic container. And I was like, oh my God, like what's happening here? So when I saw your story or your Instagram with like the Nespresso pods, I'm like, oh, I should ask Sophie about coffee because she actually looks like she knows what she's talking about. It's terrible
I
time.
love Nespresso.
I do have, my brother bought me a machine. We have like 3 of those machines and all the different pods, and you can get vanilla ones and you can get, and they're all different sizes. It's like you could spend a lot of money in the Nespresso store.
Yeah. Game over.
Yeah. That's a favorite sound, bell for coffee. What sound or noise do you hate?
Probably the Purge music from that horror movie. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the siren. I've never watched Purge because I just don't like a horror movie, but I just know something's wrong if I'm hearing that. Or like the Jaws music, you just know something's off and something bad is about to happen.
It's not the sort of music you want to play when you're on a boat. That's for sure. If you could have any superpower, what would you pick and why?
I would be able to snap my fingers and be in a different place. I spend so much time driving, traveling. If I could just go like this and be where I needed to be, that would be great.
Right. What job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Well, I gotta say FBI agent. I went to school for it. I mean, I would love to be a criminal investigator in another life.
I interviewed one of the Miss Volunteer girls this year or last year, and she actually worked for the FBI, but I wasn't allowed to say. She told me off camera. I was like, really? It's like, that's so cool. So yeah, it's like literally like one of those miscongeniality things, like undercover agent. What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Probably a firefighter. I would be so scared to go into a burning building. So kudos to all of our first responders because I would lose my mind, probably.
Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ooh. Maybe like you did it or you're not a bad person. You made mistakes, but it's okay. Um, Something to just put my overthinking mind at ease.
I did ask, I finish every interview with the same 10 questions, and one person answered, "We'll let you in anyway." That one has
Oh,
always, that one has always stuck with me in terms of wanting to hear something like, "Oh, you didn't do too bad." It's like, "We'll let you in anyway." So
oh boy.
that's reassuring. But
Here's a nice
so if you,
latte.
yeah, exactly. Heaven better have good coffee. If heaven is full of Starbucks and Dunkins and Folgers, I think I might go somewhere else.
Hopefully
Um,
there's something for everybody.
I hope so too. Well, Sophie, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you and getting to know a little bit about you. I feel like there's a lot more that we could uncover, but thank you so much for coming on and thank you for your time.
Of course, thank you. And I must address the elephant in the room. I keep looking at my eyelash. It's falling off on this side. But in natural Sophie authenticity, we did it and finished with the stray lash. But thank you for having me.
And as a guy, I didn't notice it until you pointed out. Now it's the only thing I can see. I,
Right? It's just
I
flying free.
I have a good friend and she cut like half of her hair off it. She lost like a couple of feet and I didn't notice. It's like, oh my God. I always thought I was an
Wow.
observant person, but I didn't notice it. It's like, oh yeah, I thought you looked a bit different. So anyway, no, it's all good. It adds to the authenticity. So it's a
It really
very
does.
Sophie interview. And for watching, and we